I know, it might be really challenging and difficult to decide between the Series 3 or the Apple Watch SE, as both of these two Apple Watches are selling at a very affordable price tag. The Series 3 has a retail price that starts at $199. Meanwhile, the SE starts at $279. So just about $80 price tag difference. The SE shares the modern Apple Watch look with its curvier display. Meanwhile, the Series 3 has the older generation body style. In terms of similarities, however, both still use an OLED display that can get up to 1000 nits, which is bright enough to still be able to view all that information even in direct sunlight outdoors. Both do have a dual core processor, which means they're pretty snappy in terms of opening up modern day applications. There is an optical sensor underneath, so both can do calorie tracking as well as monitor your heart rate and have the ability to alert you in case it detects an unusual heart rhythm, or if it notices that your heart rate is dangerously low or dangerously high when you're inactive. They both support emergency SOS, and then they also have the same water resistant rating up to 50 meters. In terms of battery life, both of these Apple Watches, even previously shown in my battery life test video, which if you're curious, you can go ahead and watch right here or watch it after this video. But in that battery drain test video, both of these Apple Watches can last up to 18 hours, no problem, under a single charge from normal usage. The only big major differences is basically this. The Series 3 comes available in two screen choices to choose from, slightly smaller than the SE, as it comes standard in a 38, or you could opt for the much larger 42mm, which is the one we have here. Now there is, however, a cellular version of the SE, but that one is no longer available in retail stores, so you're stuck with built-in GPS, which for my personal use, that's more than enough, especially if you don't really leave your phone behind that much. And in terms of internal specs, the Series 3 is using Apple's S3 chip, which is a dual-core processor, and it does have the W2 wireless chip. It does have built-in Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth 4.2, so it's on an older hardware of Bluetooth. It does have a built-in altimeter and built-in speakers and mic, and then internal storage capacity 8 gigabytes. Whereas the Apple Watch SE comes available in a 40 and 44mm, which is the screen size that we have, as this display is set to be 30% larger compared to the older generation. Then both a GPS and GPS Plus cellular option is available. The processor found inside the SE is the same one that was typically found on the Series 5. So it has a 64-bit dual-core processor with the W3 chip inside. The digital crown found on the SE does give you a haptic feedback, giving you a more realistic rotation as you rotate to navigate on the watch itself, which has a nice satisfying feel. The Series 3 doesn't give you that feedback, so it's less satisfying, but still, nonetheless, it will allow you to navigate your watch just as fine. Now, only the SE does support international emergency calls, but it also shares emergency SOS just like the Series 3, but only the SE has the fall detection and the noise decibel monitoring. And in terms of Bluetooth connectivity, it is using the latest Bluetooth 5. And yes, it also has built-in Wi-Fi if you go with the regular non-cellular version. The speakers are noted to be 50% louder when answering a phone call, and the storage capacity is 32 gigabytes, which is plenty enough to download a bunch of third-party applications and have your entire music playlist library on the Apple Watch internal storage. Now, in terms of its overall speeds, the differences between the Series 3 and the SE is noticeable, as the SE is more reasonable, as it not only will boot up much faster than the S3, but will also allow you to load your applications much faster as well as download these apps. And in terms of multitasking, the SE honestly is just more fluid, because technically the SE is a Series 5 underneath, just without the LTPO hardware. In other words, it does not have the always on display. But to be honest, this hardware is just more like a gimmick, so it's not really necessary to always have the always on display hardware. And especially when you take in consideration that the respawn when you flicker your wrist to look at the display is accurate 95% of the time. Then also there's far more watch faces available on the Series SE, I should say, just the SE compared to the Series 3. The Series 3 haven't really received any new watch faces to choose from, so for the best customization abilities, SE is the way to go. But for my overall use, honestly, the SE is more pleasant to use, especially when it comes to navigating and performing multiple different tasks, as both of these watches do support Apple Pay, but I much rather use the SE for this because it's snappier to select your card as well as navigate through other applications. Where the Series 3, its processor kind of has a hard time loading some of these applications quickly. Now in terms of health monitoring, both of these Apple Watches again are more than capable to be the ultimate fitness trackers, as both are capable to keep track of your steps, track your calories, track your workouts, as both have auto workout detections. But the SE has more additional health features like the decibel level monitoring, as I previously mentioned, and the fall detection. That is not found on the Series 3. Other additional goodies is the SE has a built-in compass, where the Series 3 does not. And if you're a hiker, this can be definitely useful for you, as the Series 3, although it does have an altimeter to track elevation, but it's only the SE that has the next generation version of this, which will give you real-time elevation reading at all times. So the Series 3 lacks that always-on feature, as it's not precise in its elevation. And then for parents out there, if you plan on getting an Apple Watch for your kid to set up the family setup, unfortunately the Series 3 does not support it, only the SE does. So that's something you definitely have to keep in mind if you're trying to give your child their own Apple Watch to set up for family plan. Which, by the way, family plan does not require your kid to have their own iPhone. You can pair it on to the parent or legal guardian's phone, and it will separate your notifications from your phone to their wrists. So you're giving them their own custom profile, so you can monitor them at school. Once again, Series 3 does not support this, only the SE. So my conclusion, my overall thoughts between the Series 3 and the SE. For $199, it's really challenging for me to recommend the Series 3 unless you're able to find a ridiculous good deal, like around just for $100 for a Series 3. Then yes, by all means, that's a great deal, because once the Apple Watch is turned on, it's still, even though it's using a slower processor, it's still able to open up some of these applications and use some modern features like Apple Pay and such to pay transactions with just your wrist to the terminal. And compared to fitness trackers that's available in the market like Fitbit and such, I still think even the Series 3, the Apple Watch is the best fitness tracker available in the market, as it could do so much more besides just doing the common things that fitness trackers are now known to do. But you have to keep in mind, the Series 3, it's on its last leg. This is the oldest Apple Watch that still supports watchOS 7, and it's very likely that Apple is going to drop support in the near future on the next firmware update of watchOS 8. And also take in consideration that the Series 3 is old technology. It's an old piece of hardware nowadays, as this thing was released back in September of 2017. Meanwhile, the Apple Watch SE was released 2020 in September, and it's using the Series 5 processor inside, which that watch was released 2019, and in today's day and age it still is a very modern processor, which is why this will give you the best overall experience, especially when you're running the latest firmware update of watchOS 7. And it's expected to continue receiving more feature updates in the next couple of years, where it was the Series 3, again, it's on its last legs. So for $80 more, I highly recommend just go with the SE if possible, especially if you take in consideration that it is using the latest redesigned model of the Apple Watch, which means more accessories, more cases are supported on this new body redesign, as the accessories that fit on the Series 6 are also compatible on the SE. So there you have it. That is the overview comparison between the Series 3 and the Apple Watch SE on all the important things to take in consideration when choosing between these two. So if you got some good useful information out of this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could actually leave this video a like. Those help me out a lot. And also get subscribed, especially if you enjoy seeing more tech videos just like this. Now if you're on the fritz, if you go with the Series 6 or an Apple Watch SE, I actually go ahead and made an in-depth comparison, which you could watch right over here. And then this video over there, that's just a video that YouTube is recommending specifically for you. Thanks so much for watching, take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.